X-Men 97 is one of the most popular and successful superhero shows from recent memory. At the time of this recording, Season 2 just ended, and the finale was a tad underwhelming, but it's not hard to see why this show is held in such high regard by so many people. It's a continuation of the original show from the 90s, but updated with modern technology while still retaining the heart of the original. Now, it may be what some people would call nostalgia slop, but it feels so much different from, say, Spider-Man No Way Home or Deadpool and Wolverine, where our favorite characters were treated as products getting put back on the shelf for a limited time. In those movies, they weren't really expanding on the already established character arcs. They weren't telling new stories. Hell, oftentimes, they contradicted the stories that were told 20 years ago. And the only thing they end up adding to the characters is just a bunch of new plot holes. In Deadpool and Wolverine, we saw some of our favorite characters from the X-Men treated like action figures being smashed together over and over again, with every new line of dialogue being a reference to what came before, or, ooh, look, he said the thing.
You know, I'm something of a scientist myself.
They never take these characters seriously or do anything new with them. But that's just how it's been in live action for the last 10 years or so. But what about animation? Animated projects, for some reason, always feel like they inherently have more heart and soul put into them. X-Men 97 could have just thrown familiar characters in our face, but it's giving us new material and plot lines to obsess over, and has created a situation where we get to fall in love with these characters all over again. I look at the success of X-Men 97 and can't help but think, what if some of our other favorite shows got sequels? I mean, we've already seen this kind of thing again with Daredevil, which has now been revived in the form of the Born Again series. Welcome to Cape and Cal Cafe, I'm Nemo, and today we're going to talk about some superhero shows that could benefit from the X-Men 97 treatment. If you guys enjoy the video at any point today, I'd really appreciate it if you hit that like and subscribe button, but let's hop right in. Alright, first up we have an honorable mention. I have to at least bring up this show because it is my personal favorite Batman cartoon. I'm of course talking about The Batman 2004. I'm constantly yapping about the show here on the channel, and as much as it hurts me to say this show doesn't really need a revival. I mean, we got 5 seasons and a movie from this bad boy. That's almost as much as we were supposed to get from Community. Still waiting on that movie, by the way. Anyway, we got to see Batman progress from a Year 2 vigilante to becoming a member of the Justice League with a Bat family and everything. As far as Batman shows go, this one was pretty complete. Okay, now for real, first up on the list, we have the most obvious candidate for a revival sequel series. And that would have to be Batman Beyond. I mean, obviously I'm biased, but come on, okay? Batman Beyond would be so much more popular as a character if WB actually gave a crap and did something with him. And no, adding him to a video game as an alternate skin or giving him a cameo in a low-budget animated movie doesn't count. He has such a devoted fan base, and I just don't understand why the higher-ups wouldn't use him. He's a younger Batman who shares a lot of character traits with Spider-Man. Instant hit with the youth, like you would make so much money. And the funny thing is, they've had ample opportunities to bring Terry McGinnis back into the spotlight. Like a few years ago, they rejected a pitch for an animated Batman Beyond movie in the style of Into the Spider-Verse. Why? Why would you do that? You would make so much money. Are they stupid? Anyway, Batman Beyond only ran for 3 seasons and was also given an animated movie in the form of Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker. Now, while 3 seasons is decent for an animated show, we haven't seen anything for the character since. The closest we got to a continuation was an episode of Justice League Unlimited titled Epilogue, where we got a brief look at Terry McGinnis' Batman years later into his career. This episode was likely created to give fans a more satisfying ending, as the final episode of the show ended on a completely random cliffhanger where this kid found out a secret identity. It didn't feel like a typical finale. The movie can't really be considered an ending to the show either, as it actually takes place between seasons 2 and 3, so it's not the end, it's in the middle. I mean, this show was just so special. I love the Art Deco futuristic style, and I feel oddly nostalgic for the technology and the vehicles in the show every time I watch it. Like, I'm actually geeking out just thinking about it. Everything in this show just oozed cool. Batman had a sick black and red suit, he had wings and rocket boots, and he could go invisible, and he could stick to walls, and he had a flying car, and he could use his fingers to like hear through walls. Like, they had no business making this guy so badass and so incredibly cool. Now, the reason this show needs a continuation is because there is just so much untapped potential with this character. He deserves so much more attention, and he's not getting it. But honestly, I don't have faith in Hollywood to adapt him properly in live action, so let's just do more of the show and maybe a video game, please. Alright, next up we are going to talk about Spider-Man. Which one, you ask? Take your pick. Most of them were cut short and are in desperate need of a sequel series. The main standouts to me are Spectacular Spider-Man and the MTV show. Sure, there's lots of demand for a continuation of the 90s animated series, but we're already getting that in comic form, and in my opinion, these other two were done way dirtier. Spectacular Spider-Man first aired on March 8th, 2008 and ended on November 18th, 2009 after only 26 episodes. The show was canceled after Disney bought Marvel, and instead of hiring back the old team to create more of the show, Disney just decided to create a new show in-house. A lot of people were initially turned off by the show because of the strange-looking art style, but as time passed, it quickly became the most beloved Spidey cartoon. This is because this is like the one show that faithfully adapts Spider-Man's early high school adventures the best out of all of them. Of course, there were some changes with characters like Venom and the Enforcers, but this just felt like some of the classic 60s adventures retold through a modern lens. Peter was also just perfect in this show. A lot of interpretations of Peter often neuter his character to the point where he becomes too soft. This Peter is a good kid, but he also still has an edge to him. It's the perfect balance. This show also excelled in things like smooth action and the high school drama part of Peter's life. The supporting cast in the show is just amazing, and they all feel important to the story. Even Flash gets some pretty good moments. All of the characters are fleshed out and just feel like real people. The show unfortunately ended on a cliffhanger after Peter and Gwen confessed their feelings for each other. This relationship was really compelling and everyone wanted to see more, especially after it had developed for like an entire 2 seasons. It would have been continued in season 3, and the showrunners had plans to continue the show well into Peter's college years, which would have been really awesome to see. We also would have seen more villains get introduced, like Carnage, who actually makes a brief appearance in the show as Cletus Cassidy. Of all of the shows on this list, I think people would want to see this one continue the most. It was the perfect Spider-Man show, and Josh Keaton is still praised as the best voice for the character to this day. He did get to reprise his role in various video games and even made an appearance in Across the Spider-Verse, even though it didn't really make sense for his version of Peter to join the Spider Society, but whatever. The other Spider-Man show I think should be revived is Spider-Man: The New Animated Series. This show aired on MTV on July 11, 2003 and ended on September 12th of the same year. This show in particular is very interesting because it was supposed to serve as a loose sequel to Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 1, with the main difference being that the main trio is infinitely more likable here. Oh, and Harry has blonde hair too, I guess. The show ended on a massive cliffhanger after only 1 season, with Peter throwing his suit in the river and quitting the hero gig. This show starred Neil Patrick Harris as Spider-Man, and honestly, he is a really underrated voice for the character. I like him a lot. I think his voice fits the darker tone of the show really well, and I'm surprised he hasn't been brought back to play Spider-Man more. I mean, he was in Shattered Dimensions, but still, I would love to see more of this version of Spider-Man. He is so good. This show was animated entirely with 3D CG animation, and it does look pretty dated, but I feel like with modern technology, this art style could be updated and refined. I really like the way this Spider-Man looks at night. The silver webbing looks like it's almost glowing. It is so cool. By the way, Michael Rosenbaum, who played the Flash, and Lex Luthor was briefly considered for the role of Spider-Man before Neil Patrick Harris was chosen. That could have been interesting, but I still think Neil was a better choice. Anyway, this show is an obvious candidate for a revival as it only lasted 1 season. Those damn cliffhangers, man. Oh, by the way, there technically is a continuation for the show being worked on in the form of a movie. It's not being made by Disney or Sony, but by some really cool fans. Here, you can go follow the project and their progress over on YouTube and Instagram. Here is the channel. Here is the Instagram account. You should definitely go check it out. I think it's looking pretty cool so far. Alright, next up on the list is Justice League Unlimited. Now, the interesting thing about this pick is I don't think people necessarily want a continuation of this specific show, but of the DCAU in general. Now, the DCAU was like the MCU of animation before the MCU was even a thing. Sure, Marvel loosely connected their other shows in the 90s, but it was not anything like this. This was just on another level. Now, the thing that everyone loved about JLU was that it explored and utilized all kinds of random characters from the wider DC universe without sacrificing story quality. We had the main 7 from the previous Justice League show, but each new episode also introduced us to deep-cut characters like The Question, Fire and Ice, Vigilante, Shining Knight, Jonah Hex, Wildcat the Atom, and so many more. Plus, this show had a banger intro. I think people just miss seeing the DC universe in such a full and complete form. All we get now is Batman stuff, and you'll be lucky to see any other character get their time in the spotlight. This show gave characters like Booster Gold a chance to shine. We got 3 seasons of this, and while that's not a bad run, there are definitely more stories to tell, more characters to explore, and just more time to spend in this universe. Personally, I think it'd be really cool to just continue the show the way it already was. There's no need to break up the league for a dramatic repilot, just pick up where we left off. Of course, Kevin Conroy wouldn't be involved, rest in peace to the GOAT, but maybe you could write him out of the story by saying he retired from the league or just recast him. I don't know. Either way, I don't think fans are quite done yet with the DCAU. Alright, next up we have Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes. Now, this is another show that was cancelled because of Disney. This and Spectacular were just done so dirty. This time, it was all about brand synergy. They wanted to make an Avengers cartoon that connected to Ultimate Spider-Man and also matched the vibe of the MCU. Anyway, if you haven't watched Earth's Mightiest Heroes, this show is basically just the perfect example of how to do a Marvel animated universe. It originally aired from 2010 to 2012 and only got 2 seasons, but man, these 2 seasons packed in an absurd amount of Marvel history. We have Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, Hulk, Hawkeye, Black Panther, Ant-Man, the Wasp, and then eventually we got introduced to more characters like Spider-Man, the Fantastic Four, the Heroes for Hire, Captain Marvel, and just a lot more. And what made this show so good was that it actually felt like a full and complete universe, like not quite to the same level of JLU, but pretty damn close. This show balanced epic multi-episode story arcs with good humor and stellar character moments, and honestly, that's what makes this show such a good candidate for the X-Men 97 treatment. You wouldn't even have to reboot or change anything. Just like JLU, just make more of the same show. That's all we want. Alright, now this next one is going to be a little different because I'm not necessarily asking for a continuation of the original or the latest show. Anyway, I'm talking about Ben 10, so I don't want to just do more of Omniverse, I want a Ben 10,000 show. I feel like it's time. Now, we've seen a bunch of different versions of Ben 10,000 throughout the franchise, but I think we should just pick one of those versions and then commit to a standalone show taking place in the future. Plus, with Ben being an adult, as well as the audience having grown up, they can make the show a lot darker and add some darker themes. I don't mean to make everything gross and ugly like the new comic, just make a show that has a similar art style and looks around the same, you have some of the same voice actors, and then just make it a little more adult, you know? I don't know if that makes sense. Now, I personally would love if they went with the Ben 10,000 from the original series and expanded on that episode where we got to meet him and his son Kenny. I think that would be so cool. We could have some new villains, some new side characters, a bunch of new aliens, as well as a bunch of the old ones, obviously. Gotta see Heat Blast. But I don't know, this would just be so cool. Now, this character being on this list feels a little out of place because Ben 10, it's not like some victim where it was canceled too early and we didn't get enough of it. Ben 10 has the longest run out of any of the shows here. The classic series had 4 seasons, Alien Force had 3, Ultimate Alien had 3, and Omniverse had 8. And then there's the reboot, I guess. I would argue that there is more to be explored here. Getting canceled isn't the only criteria for deserving a revival. People love Ben 10 and they want to see it continued in some way, and that is why we have projects like the comic book and that one channel 5YL. People just want more, and obviously the reboot wasn't satisfying people's cravings because nobody watched it, so do Ben 10K. That just makes the most sense to me, come on. And finally, the last show on this list is Static Shock, and this one hurts because I genuinely think Static could be one of DC's biggest characters. They actually gave him the chance to, be popular. Static Shock originally ran from 2000 to 2004 and gave us 4 seasons of Virgil Hawkins fighting crime as Static. And this show was doing things that superhero cartoons at the time weren't always willing to do. It wasn't afraid to tackle racism, gun violence, bullying, gang conflict, peer pressure, and just the struggles of being a teenager while also being a superhero. People love street-level heroes, especially young ones. They always feel fresh and relatable. Just look at Spider-Man. So that is why I think a revival show could do so well, just because people would love Static if, DC just gave him a chance, just like Batman Beyond. I think he deserves a continuation because he just feels like one of those characters that DC kind of just forgot about. Now, I don't know if they would ever make a revival of the show, but even if they just did a reboot, they should take the opportunity to utilize some of the other milestone characters that deserve their time in the spotlight too. icon, for example. Anyways, that's going to be it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed it all, I'd really appreciate it if you hit that like and subscribe button, and the hype button, and drop in the comments down below what show you think should receive the X-Men 97 treatment. Let's talk about it. But yeah, until next time, I'll see you guys later.